sir? Do you swear affirm the testimony you will give today in the matter of the state of Georgia versus Jose Ibarra will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please take a seat, state and spell your first and last name.
My name is Special Agent Lucas Beyer, Lucasbeyer.
What do you do for a living?
I'm employed by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation
How long have you been employed by the GBI?
since 2020.
What are your duties and responsibilities?
I am employed at the GBI's Athens Regional Office. I'm a special agent and investigator.
And tell us about your training and your education, or your training for your job.
I have been in law enforcement since 2015. I started with Georgia Probation and Parole as a probation and parole officer. I was hired by the GBI in 2020 and went through Basic Law Enforcement Academy and also the GBI Academy. I have attended training for cell phone forensics. I have attended training for homicide investigations, child abuse investigations, and other general investigative tasks.
Are you a post-certified officer?
I am.
And were you the lead GBI agent assigned to investigate the murder of Laken Riley?
Yes.
Will you tell the court when were you assigned to that and what did you do in that regard in the very beginning?
I was assigned that role on Thursday, February 22nd, 2024. Shortly after 1 p.m., I was contacted by my immediate supervisor, Assistant Special Agent in Charge Heather Strickland. She advised that the University of Georgia Police Department was requesting GBI assistance in reference to a death investigation.
I'm sorry, can you come into that microphone just a little bit more because I make sure that Madam Court Reporter and everybody can hear you. Thank you. So you were advised that the University of Georgia requested assistance. Go ahead.
Yes, I was advised that the University of Georgia requested assistance in reference to a death investigation, and I was dispatched to an area on campus known as the Intramural Fields and the Lake Herrick area and the Oconee Forest Park specifically. I was told that there was a deceased female that had been located in that wooded area. When I arrived at the scene, I met with UGA PD personnel, specifically Major Hammock, and he provided me a briefing of the information that they had gathered so far.
What time did you get on the scene?
I arrived on the scene at approximately 2 p.m.
And when you arrived on the scene, was Laken Riley's body still on scene?
Yes.
And did you assist your special agent, Daniela Stewart, in processing the scene, and were you on the scene that day?
I was on the scene that day. I did not assist in processing the crime scene. There were some things that I did assist with, such as gathering measurements. I also later helped look for a cell phone, but as far as the collection of physical evidence, I did not assist with that task.
Okay. And who did that task?
Special Agent Daniela Stewart, Detective Saunders from the University of Georgia Police Department were primarily assisting in that task.
How long were you on scene that day?
I remained on scene that day until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
In your, and so then how did this work? Is the GBI an assist agency? Tell us about that. You nodded your head, so you have to say yes or no for Madam Court Reporter. Is GBI an assist agency?
Yes, the GBI is an assist agency.
And so what does that mean?
The GBI rarely opens or has original jurisdiction over their own investigations. We are we are requested by chiefs of police, local sheriffs, judges, district attorneys, fire chiefs. Or elected officials can request the GBI to investigate a case also. We do not respond as a standard police department or a patrol officer would to a 911 call. We have to be specifically requested by another law enforcement agency to initiate an investigation.
And after you were requested, your agency was requested in this case and you were assigned lead, did you work this case with the University of Georgia Police Department?
Yes, I did.
And specifically with Detective Preston Norris, did you two work together?
Yes, we did.
And have y'all been working together on this case basically since it occurred?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to hand you what has been marked for identification purposes as 286, 287, 288, 298, 297. I'm gonna ask that you keep these in the folder while you're looking at them, please, and keep them low. Do you recognize those exhibits?
I do.
What are they?
These are screenshots that I captured from Sergeant Maxwell's body camera footage. That body camera footage depicted the moments that he initially found Laken Riley's body.
The state would move to admit those item numbers.
Any objection?
No objection.
They're admitted, 286, 287, 288, 297, 298.
We have one moment, Your Honor. And it's on folder. I am going to tender those exhibits to the court in a folder for them to be discussed. So, Investigator Lucas, as part of your, Special Agent Hyder, as part of your duties and responsibilities in this case, did you do a great deal of studying of Laken Riley's clothing and how it was on the scene?
I did, yes.
Let's start first with what you personally observed when you arrived on scene at 2 p.m. Go ahead and start. First of all, just tell us what you saw about her clothing in general, and then I may ask you some specific questions.
At the time that I arrived on the scene, Laken Riley was still located on the scene, as I previously stated. Her, the garments that were covering her torso, jacket, sports bra, they were completely removed from her body and they were lying on the ground next to her. She was still wearing shoes, socks, black pants, and we could also observe underwear that she was wearing. They were tan or pink in color, and they were poking out from the top of her, the waistband of her running pants.
Her running pants, were they above or below her navel when you saw her body?
They were below her navel.
Okay. And did you see the back of her body?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So how would you describe the top of her pants versus in the front versus the back? Were they even or were they uneven?
They were uneven. The back of her pants were significantly lower than the top of her pants.
You could see her underwear protruding. What do you mean by that?
I could see the underwear protruding from the top of her pants on the front of her body. The waistband of her pants had been moved, and the underwear was poking out from the top. As I just stated, the backside of her running pants were pulled down, exposing the top of her buttocks.
Did you go back and review Sergeant Maxwell's body cam to see if what her clothing was like when she was originally found by the UGPD police officers?
Yes, I did.
And is that part of the photos that we've admitted for the court for his consideration?
That's correct.
Okay. How would you, first of all, describe her running tights and her underwear? Was it in the same manner in Sergeant Maxwell's body cam as it was when you saw it?
Her pants and her underwear were in the same condition in the body camera as when I physically saw them on scene.
Okay. So her underwear was protruding like you saw it on scene?
Correct.
What about the top layer of her clothing? What was it the same?
No.
Okay. So how would you describe the clothing that you've studied in Maxwell's body cam at the top of her body?
The clothing on top of her body had initially in the body camera when Sergeant Maxwell found Laken Riley. Her jacket and shirt and sports bra that she had been wearing were heavily manipulated, and the clothing was pulled up extremely high above her breasts, which completely exposed her breasts. The jacket and shirt had been pulled up on her back, and all of her clothing items were bunched up around the back of her neck. and they were also pulled up off of her shoulders from the rear. Everything was pulled forward.
Go ahead. I was gonna ask you about the sports bra. Did you see her sports bra?
Yes, I did see the sports bra. The sports bra had been manipulated so that it had become the outermost layer of her clothing. The sports bra, as I was able to see in the body camera, was wrapped around her upper arms. They were wrapped around her triceps. And I was able to identify that was the sports bra in the body camera footage, because the bottom of the sports bra, as it would have been worn, the bottom layer that would have been below her breast was a pretty distinctive ribbed material, and I was able to see that ribbed material in the body camera footage wrapped around her triceps and her upper arms.
Were you also part of the investigative team in making decisions about what to test and what not to test in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you aware that Laken Riley's part of her body was swabbed by the medical examiner?
I'm aware of that, yes.
Like her neck and her wrists and her ankles. And were those swabs tested by your laboratory, the GBI?
No, they were not.
And why not?
They were not tested because we knew that there had been at least 3 males that had touched Laken Riley's body without gloves when they were rendering aid and trying to save her life. We also know that there were additional males that had rendered aid to Laken Riley after the initial 3 officers had tried to render aid to her.
And would those be EMS and firefighters?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, go ahead.
We also saw in body camera footage that Sergeant Maxwell and Corporal Bridges, as they were the first ones to discover Laken Riley, they were equipped with whistles, and they were blowing in the whistles to try and signal other officers where their position was in the wooded area. As they were performing CPR on Laken Riley, we could see in the video that those whistles would occasionally touch her body, and it was likely that the whistles coming out of their mouth and then touching her body was depositing saliva on her person.
And at some point, you left the scene that day. Did you go to Bolt Dining Hall?
I did.
What is Bolt Dining Hall?
Bolton Dining Hall is one of the dining halls on the University of Georgia campus.
And what was your purpose for going there, and when did you go?
I went there on Friday, February 23rd, 2024, along with University of Georgia Police Department Major Hammock, in order to look at surveillance video from inside Bolton Dining Hall. We had received information that Diego Ibarra was employed at Bolton Dining Hall, and we went to the dining hall to look at the surveillance video to see if he had gone to work on the day of the murder.
And did you observe that video for yourself?
I did.
And were you with Major Hammock at the time?
Yes.
And just tell the court, what did y'all do? How did you see the video for yourself? You pull it up and see it?
Yes, we went to the Bolton Dining Hall administrative office, and we were allowed to look at a computer screen, and the Genetech security system was pulled up on the computer screen, and we were able to go back to specific dates and look at those dates and the surveillance video associated with those dates.
And is the Genetech but is Genetech and the University of Georgia's Police Department audio and video surveillance system tied to their server?
Yes, it is.
And so are the times and date stamps on their videos accurate?
Yes, they are.
And were you asked for the purposes of today to burn clips of the video that you saw for yourself on February 23rd of 2024?
I was.
And did you do that, burn clips of what you saw?
Yes.
I'm handing you what's been marked State's Exhibit 282. Do you recognize 282?
I do.
What
This is a thumb drive that contains clips of Bolton Dining Hall surveillance video.
And do those clips fairly and accurately, and are they an accurate recording of what you personally saw for yourself on the 23rd day of February 2020?
The clips contained on this thumb drive are from the 20th, 21st, and 22nd.
My question was the day that you saw it for yourself.
Oh, yes, correct. Yes,
Okay.
these are accurate clips of the 23rd that I observed on the 23rd.
So you pulled several days of video.
Yes,
You did that on the 23rd is when you saw it.
correct.
Okay. And so the video that's contained on 282 has other dates on it that precede the 23rd.
That's correct.
Is it an accurate copy of the videos that you saw?
Yes.
Statement moved to admit states 282.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
282 is admitted.
And just like the previous video for the court and council, we attempted to narrow the clip so that we're not watching hours and hours of video. And so that's what we're going to do. They're still not as short as maybe they could be, but it's certainly better than multiple hours. So I am publishing with the court's permission 282. There we go. Charlotte, never mind, we're up. It's not going to notify. So what days did you look at and what days did you make clips of? Let's start with that.
I observed Bolton Dining Hall surveillance video from February 20th, February 21st, and February 22nd.
So we're first publishing the first clip, which is the 20th. And tell us the time stamp on this video.
The timestamp on the video currently is 3:06 p.m. on February 20th, 2024.
And in your investigation, first of all, have you had the opportunity to actually see Diego Ibarra in person?
Yes,
And so do you know him when you see him?
I do.
And do you see him in this video?
We will see him in this video.
All right, we'll just let it play. We'll just let it play.
Diego Ibarra is currently on the screen.
Okay, well, I'll wait till he gets a little closer to the screen.
While this is happening, I promised the media I would tell them when they could publish, when they could view things. This is one, they can start reviewing.
Yes, sir, thank you for reminding me. Yes, then
All right.
wait, and then if I could, tell my family so they can come back.
That'll be fine.
Probably. It is paused. I'm pausing it at 3:08 p.m. Who is that individual?
That is Diego Ibarra.
What do you see him wearing and carrying?
He's wearing white shoes, black pants, a gray t-shirt, and a gray baseball cap. He's holding a gray, small gray backpack.
Does he have tattoos on his neck?
He does.
Do you see those in this video?
I do.
Please point those out for the court. Use the pointer next to you. It's right next to you.
Tattoos can be observed on the back of his neck here.
Okay.
There's also one behind his ear here.
All right. Thank you. Does that complete the 20th clip?
It does.
What was his shift time at this dining hall?
His shift was from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m.
And I want to go to the next day, February 21st.
Correct.
I'm going to play that at this point. What are we looking at here at 4:22?
There's also Diego Ibarra arriving to work at Bolton Dining Hall.
What's he wearing?
White shoes, black pants, a gray t-shirt, a red and white baseball cap, a small gray backpack, and a blue jacket.
I want to ask you questions about that jacket when we see it in a little different position. And the backpack. Back it up a little bit. This at 4:42 p.m. is where I am in the video on the 21st. The backpack that you see in that video, is it same or different than one that Jose Ibarra was published on his social media?
It's different.
Okay, let me find that photo real quick so you can tell us how. Yes, it's too funny. It's too I'm handing you State's Exhibit 247. It's already been admitted. Are you familiar with that image and that person?
I am.
Who is that person in 247?
This is a photo of Jose Ibarra.
And do you see him with a bag in that photo?
I do.
Is it the same bag that we see here?
No.
Okay. How are they different?
Diego Ibarra's backpack is slightly larger. It also has 2 shoulder straps on it. This bag is smaller and has a single strap.
And as the investigator in this case, the GBI, did you personally, and many, many GBI agents along with you, look for that bag that you see in State's Exhibit 247?
Yes.
Did you ever find it?
No.
Now publishing the 2/21/24 clock out video. What time is it now?
The timestamp shows 10:58 p.m. on February 21st, 2024.
Who do we see now in the frame at 10:59?
That is Diego Ibarra.
Okay, I want to talk to you about this jacket. So this jacket that we see him put on, I'm going to ask you some questions after we watch it, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Does it have a hood?
It does.
Okay. Does it have an emblem on it?
It has an emblem on the rear of the jacket at the top right shoulder.
When you see that emblem, I want you to tell me to stop the video.
Okay. We can stop now.
Okay, do you see the emblem?
I do.
Point it out.
emblem is located right here.
And what type of emblem is that?
It appears to be a logo for North Face.
And you're familiar and you have seen the jacket that was recovered in the dumpster in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a North Face jacket?
No, ma'am.
Is this a different jacket?
It is.
Does that complete the 21st?
It does.
Did Diego Ibarra go to work on February 22nd at 2024?
Yes, he did.
And what time do you see him on video on that day?
Mr. Ibarra is shown clocking into work at approximately 3:57 p.m.
So at 3:57 p.m. on the 22nd day of February of 2024, where were you?
I was at the crime scene.
Had Laken Riley's body already been discovered?
Yes.
Had you, ACCPD, GBI, University of Georgia Police Department, had all of y'all already responded to the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many police officers do you think, state, federal, and local, had descended upon the University of Georgia at about this time?
I would have a difficult time putting an accurate number on that, but it was numerous law enforcement. that
More than
were-
one?
Yes, more than one.
More than 10?
Yes, ma'am.
If a person were on this campus on that day, would they know something's up?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And Bolton Hall, is that on the University of Georgia campus?
It is.
Okay. So he shows up to work at what time?
He shows up to work at approximately 3:57 p.m.
And I'm going to stop it right there. 3:57 p.m., what is he wearing?
He's wearing white shoes, black pants, a gray t-shirt, a black and red baseball cap, and he has a small gray backpack. He also just deposited a gray or white jacket into the locker.
On that day, is he wearing a black Adidas baseball cap?
No, ma'am.
that Diego Barra again at 3:59?
It is.
And the last clip now at 2:22:24. What time are we at?
Timestamp shows 11:03 p.m.
Do you see Diego Ibarra again?
Yes.
Okay, what's he wearing?
White shoes, black pants, gray t-shirt, currently wearing a black Georgia visor, and he's holding a white towel.
What's he putting on now?
A gray or white hoodie and a red and black baseball cap.
On the 22nd day of February 2024, do you see him wearing a black Adidas hat?
No, ma'am.
You still see Diego Ibarra there?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'll pass the witness.
Cross-examine.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Agent Byer, you were speaking with Ms. Ross about the crime scene, and I kind of want to start there. You were explaining your rationale for not testing some of the swabs taken from Laken Riley. Was it your call what was sent to the GBI lab in this case?
All evidence that was collected, including the swabs, were sent to the lab. We had collaborative discussions with the lab and amongst the investigative team what we would request to be tested. There was also input by lab personnel on things that they would not test.
Okay. And so the decisions were made by a combination of you and other GBI personnel, you would say?
That's correct.
Okay. So I want to talk to you about some black gloves. Did you ever observe black gloves collected from the residence where Jose Ibarra lived?
I did not personally see them, but I am aware of them, yes.
Okay. Are you aware that they were not found in a box, but they were found in a drawer?
Yes.
Okay. You went to Bolton Dining Hall?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. While you were there, did you ask to see what kind of kitchen gloves they used?
I did not.
You were aware that Diego worked at Bolton Dining, as we just discussed.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just want to clarify for the record the times you mentioned him clocking in on each day. On February 20th, he clocks in at 3:08 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
February 21st, he clocks in at 4:43 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
And on February 22nd, he clocks in at 3:57 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
How far is Bolton Dining Hall from Diego's apartment?
Approximately 10 minutes.
And is 10 minutes a drive or a walk?
According to Diego, he generally took a bus or he had a friend take him.
And were you able to confirm that there was a bus route that could have transported him from near his apartment to Bolton Dining Commons?
Yes, ma'am.
And would that bus route include the stop near Rogers Road, that bus stop for UGA buses?
Yeah, it would.
Okay. So you regularly use that bus stop?
Yes, ma'am.
And sorry, you said it was about 10 minutes, you said?
Approximately, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
You were at the back to the woods, you were at the crime scene for several hours, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
And did Tim Stewart from the Athens Police Department ever come by the crime scene?
Yes, ma'am.
What time was that?
That was early on. He was, I believe he may have been at the crime scene when I initially got there.
So it would've been like-
At some point, he departed the scene.
Would that have been like 3 p.m. or?
Yes, ma'am. It was early on.
Okay. And you mentioned that several male individuals had attempted to render aid to Laken Riley without gloves. Were those the initial responding UGA police officers?
Yes, Sergeant Maxwell, Corporal Bridges, and Sergeant Epps.
Are you aware if the EMS personnel wore gloves when they handled her?
They did. The body camera depicts the firefighters and the paramedics wearing gloves.
And you mentioned you had a chance to, in detail, observe Ms. Riley's body.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you notice that she had fingernails that stuck out from her fingers a little bit?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you notice that there was blood on the inside of the fingernails?
Not personally. I didn't get that close. I didn't want to disrupt the scene
Sure.
beyond what I needed to as a case agent.
Did you review the photos later?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they show that there was blood underneath her fingernails?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it fair to say you were kind of in charge of and aware of any investigative action taken by the GBI in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're aware of that there were 2 interviews conducted with Juan Carlos,
Yes, ma'am.
and one of those was on February 22nd, the day, or sorry, February 23rd, the day that you all got involved.
Yes, ma'am.
And there was a follow-up done, I believe, in March, was it March 4th?
I believe it was March 4th. If I can reference my notes
You may.
momentarily, I can give you confirmation of that. Yes, Monday, March 4th was the follow-up.
Similarly, Arrhenius was interviewed on February 23rd,
Yes, ma'am.
and then you were involved in a follow-up interview with him.
That's correct.
And what day was that follow-up interview?
That follow-up interview was conducted on, one moment please, I
No,
apologize.
you're fine.
Friday, March 1st.
Are you aware the follow-up interview was done with Diego Ibarra?
It was not.
You're aware that GBI agents found black and orange latex gloves at a trash can across from the apartment on February 23rd?
Yes, that particular trash can was across South, I believe it's South Millage Avenue, near a gas station.
Were those gloves collected?
I believe so, yes.
Were they tested?
That I do not know. Those gloves were determined to not be of evidentiary value because they were most likely associated with law enforcement personnel that had been in the area. On the 23rd, there were...
Did you review footage to confirm that?
Not personally, no ma'am.
And then you were also aware that there were some discarded clothes found near the intramural fields on February 23rd?
There were some discarded clothes that were located behind the Argo apartment complex near a walking trail. I am aware of the collection of those clothes. I also observed the officer's body camera of the collection of those clothes.
And were those clothes tested?
They were not. The clothes were determined to have been lying on the ground for an extended period of time. I did discuss those clothes with crime scene and forensic personnel, and we determined that it was unnecessary to test those clothes because they were not of evidentiary value.
The contents of Diego's bag, did you ask that those items be tested,
No, ma'am.
including the black gloves that were found in them?
Correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Was there any observable blood on Diego's black gloves that were in his bag?
No, there was not.
And if there was, would you have sent those to the crime lab?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to say you used the word Argo Apartments. Does it also have another name?
It does.
Can you tell us that name, please, for the record?
The name of the apartment complex at the time of the incident was Celio at Azalyuk. It is also currently known as the Grove at 5 Points.
And you were asked about clothing that was recovered near there, and you said something about it had been on the ground for some time. What do you mean by that? What did you observe?
The clothing had vegetative matter on it, sticks, leaves, twigs, pine straw, and the clothes appeared to have been wet several times and dried out several times, and they had the appearance of older articles of clothing that had been lying on the ground for an extended period of time.
And if there were any blood on that clothing, would you have sent it to the crime lab?
Absolutely.
And Diego was interviewed by you, is that right?
That's correct.
What was the date?
That interview was conducted on Friday, February 23rd, 2024.
And did you ask him questions?
I did.
And did he answer your questions?
He did.
And the gloves that were recovered inside Jose Ibarra's apartment D126, were they in a common area where anyone could access them?
Yes.
And the trail cam video from 2/22 of 24, the one at Building S, do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
You're familiar with that video?
I am.
Do you see Diego on that video at all that day?
No.
May I have one moment with counsel?
Yes. Anything else, Ms. Beck?
Just one moment, Your Honor. When you interviewed Diego Ibarra, you had a chance to observe his demeanor,
Yes, ma'am.
and he was not particularly helpful.
He answered all of my questions. We conducted an interview for approximately an hour and a half. He was calm. He was generally respectful. He answered all of my questions.
But you would agree that he was not particularly helpful.
I don't know if I would agree with that statement. If he answered my questions and he agreed to talk to me and we conducted that conversation for an hour and a half, I would say that was helpful and an overall positive interview.
But you chose not to re-interview him later.
I did request to re-interview him later. He is represented by counsel on some unrelated charges, and I requested permission to interview him from his attorney and was denied that opportunity.
Just a moment. I don't have any further questions.
Just briefly, the unrelated charges, are they in federal court?
They are.
And what are the charges?
They are possession of a fraudulent green card.
And in your hour and a half that you spent with Diego on the 23rd day of February 2024, did he appear to be injured to you?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you see, it looked like he had been in a fight or anything?
No, ma'am,
See any scratches on him?
I did not.
That's all I have.
Anything else, Ms. Beck?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Can he be excused?
Yes, yes, sir, but maybe hold for rebuttal. I'll work it out with him.
Okay, you can go down.
Thank you, Judge.
Just on the top.
We'll take a 10-minute recess.